Good everyone in this video, and today we have another episode of the daily task videos, and today we're going to be taking a look at the medium tasks for tanks. Now, if you've been watching this series for now, you already know how this works, but of course, if you're new to the series and you just skipped to the medium tanks part, I will obviously explain everything and how it works. So, as you can see on the screen, we're obviously using a notepad file, and up there in the top left is a key. So you'll notice on the top task that you can see there's some asterisks and some plus signs. The asterisk means the task got harder, and the plus sign means the task got easier. So what this essentially means is you can just look at those ones if you've been struggling with those specific ones, using the timestamps that are also linked in the description below to each individual task. Now, of course, if you are struggling with a task, there is also going to be a link to the Discord server, and if that link doesn't work for whatever reason, just pop it in the comments and I'll give you a link. But as I was saying, the tasks are there for obviously your benefit. I'll obviously cover a bit more in depth than just my notes that you can see there on the right. But of course, if you want to skip ahead to go and do that, please do feel free. That's why they're there. Without further ado, let's get into the tasks and starting off with Bullseye, which actually got a little bit more trickier. It used to be like 24 crits, I think. Sorry, no, 26, and now it's 32. Bullseye, make required number of critical hits, 32 critical hits. Now, with this task, a lot of the time, if you just go for a gunner shot, you're going to get this guaranteed. But of course, a lot of the time, if you're fighting something a lot less spacious, or shall we say a bit cramped, like a T-34, you can actually one-shot them a lot of the time. And you might think that this is a bad situation because you're not going to be awarded a crit. However, from what I've experienced, a lot of the time you still get the crit even if you kill the tank in the same shot, if that makes sense. So I wouldn't worry about it too much, but if you really want to guarantee crits, use something that either has a normal gun but also access to a heavy machine gun like the M4A2. The M4A2 can not only get crits on tanks, but it can also get crits on planes. And the 50 cal can also crit lighter vehicles quite easily. As for the other two vehicles mentioned there, Panther D, T-34, 57, they don't always one-shot, and you're pretty much guaranteed a critical hit. So it's really just down to just playing until you get the crits. Don't forget as well, cast does count for this, so make sure to use cast where you can. And of course, focus on more gun cast than you normally would. I know not many people enjoy gun casts, but you're pretty much guaranteed crits if you just go for the engine block on a tank, so just give that a try, really. Next up is Bird Hunt. Destroy enemy aircraft in combined battles. Players 4 kills. I'm not saying the bots all bit because we used to have bots in the Tank RB. Like, you used to have them, and it was like a G4M that would just do donuts around the map. You could count that, or you could shoot that down, and that would count. But they removed that, so I don't know why they still have it as bots or players 4 kills, but, you know. So for this, you obviously can use anti-cast, but of course we're focusing more on the tank side. So with this, really, it's just about playing SBAA and possibly medium tanks or heavy tanks that have machine guns that can point high up. But for some SBAs, a lot of this should be pretty self-explanatory, like the Whirlwind, the AMX-13, DCA-40, Oswin 2, etc. Additionally, if you want to use something like the M16 for this challenge, you just have to spawn in a rank 3 vehicle first before you jump in the M16, and then you can use it for that. Believe me, it works, it's very useful, and trust me, it saves you a lot of ball ache if you can't quite get the rank 3 SPAA that you want to use, because that would involve you playing at high BR. You can actually use a rank 2, but like I say, you can just play a rank 3 vehicle first, like a Sherman or something, like the M4A2 that I mentioned earlier. But yeah, just do that, and that will probably make it a lot easier for you. Next is Through the Fire. Destroy light and medium tanks of the enemy, 18 kills. This, well, I forgot to mention, the Bird Hunt used to be just 3. This used to be, I think, 12 or 14. I don't remember exactly. So it has jumped up quite a considerable bit. And for this, I would actually recommend playing against Germany and Russia because they tend to use a lot of mediums and lights. Obviously, the Pumas do count towards this. It doesn't have to be a rank 3 vehicle that you kill. It just has to be a light or medium tank. Now, of course, you can also face America because they obviously use the Shermans, they use the Chaffies, they use the Stuarts. Um, but America tends to have pretty good casts, and if you're on a good run, chances are you're going to get a bomb dropped on your head before you can say it. So, facing Germany and Russia would probably be your best bets. Um, Playing Russia is also not a bad strat because obviously you face America a lot of the time, you face Germany a lot of the time. So that is also a pretty good candidate. And of course, I will be covering lineups in a future video on my recommended lineups for these sorts of tasks. Well, obviously not these sorts of tasks, but like just the tasks in general. So like it will be a mix of vehicles in one lineup to like benefit you and all that, and also just help you do each task that you're trying to work towards. But back to the task itself, like I say, just play pretty much whatever you want, and yeah, just focus on taking out light and medium tanks. If you have to kill a heavy, just kill it, because at the end of the day, a heavy tank can be quite dangerous in good hands. But focus more on the light and medium tank side, and of course, when it comes to your cast, try to focus on light and medium tanks, ignore the heavies, and definitely avoid SPAA. Next is Happy Ending. Win required number of battles for 50% or more activity, 5 victories. This used to be 3, I believe. Don't play Germany, just play Russia at 4.7. You're going to be hearing a lot of Russia at 4.7 because it's the most consistent lineup I have for getting wins in Ground RB. I use it all the time when I need wins and stuff like that. And yeah, I pretty much never have issues with playing Russia at 4.7. Although the 85 has been playing up a little bit recently, it just doesn't seem to crack as well as it used to. I don't know if it's just a problem with volumetric being a bit of a pain in the ass, but I just find cracking VK3002s and Panther Ds to be a little bit more tricky than what it used to be, because for some reason they just seem to catch shots a lot easier now. But I digress. But like I said, just focus on getting the win, focus on caps, work as a team, and just pretty much don't play Germany, and you should be golden for this. Next is Star Shower. Play a battle, destroy a required number of enemy aircraft, 1 or more aircraft kills. 3 games. So remember, you don't have to win this because obviously it's a play. So pretty much just get a kill on a plane and you're golden. Now, there is actually a little exploit which I might cover in a video, same with the help with repairing street, which we're going to cover later down the line with the set to work task, which actually got a little bit easier as well. But I'm going to be covering a couple of little exploits, so to speak, that you could be using to make these tasks a shitload easier for you. So do look out for that. But if you do want some recommendations, use the SPA as I mentioned earlier, the Whirlwind, the AMX, the Oswind, and also the Boss Varg is one I didn't mention. I love the Boss Varg, so that's why it's a bit for personal bias. But like I said, mounted MGs on American tanks, as well as anti-cas, is also perfectly acceptable for this. A lot of the American tanks do have 50 cals at point quite high, so you can use that to just drill planes engine block and then you'll get the kill. So yeah, just pretty much do whatever you can to just guarantee that air kill, even if it might take you more than the 3 games it actually requires, because, well, kill stealers in Ground RB is very common, to say the least. Next is One Step Ahead. Get the According to Intelligence streak required number of times. According to Intelligence streaks, times 2. So this one is a pain in the arse, to put it simply. So for those that don't actually know what this task is, it actually got easier because people realised, well, people were complaining to Gaijin how annoying it is. So what this task entails is a friendly / squad mate light tank scouting the target for you, and then you shoot that specific target. It's a pain in the arse. I don't know why this task is the thing, because half the time you have to rely on auto squad mates, and well, if you get paired up with auto squad mates like I do, they just start putting Erica on and their freaking German tanks and just driving straight in front of T-34s all day. But jokes aside and things like that, it is a task that is very very squad mate dependent, because like teammates aren't very good for relying on in this. So I'd actually recommend doing this one on a squad. And like I said earlier, you are more than welcome to join the Discord server. We will help you out with this. All of us have access to light tanks that can pretty much benefit you here. So pretty much just ask one of us, say, I need help with According to Intelligence streaks. And yeah, we'll help you out. But yeah, don't do this one solo is all I'll say. Next is Scout, which is the complete opposite of one step ahead. Get the Intelligence streak, which some War Thunder players can benefit from the Intelligence part alone, but we'll gloss over that. Streak required number of times. 5 streaks. So this is the exact opposite. So instead of this, or instead of the teammate scouting it and then you shooting it, you scout it, they shoot it. So there is a lot of different light tanks that you can use, and also a couple of pseudo tank destroyers that function like light tanks, like the ASU. But my favorite one for doing this is the Walker Bulldog, the M41A1. I love using it for that. And yeah, a lot of these is just, like I said, the Chaffee with Japan, and also, side note, if you use a rank 2 light tank for this, you must spawn a rank 3 vehicle first. Just to reiterate that point. You can do this in a rank 2, but you have to bring a rank 3 vehicle. So, yeah, it can be a bit interesting to make this one work if you don't have a great lineup, but like I said, rank 3 vehicle and then a rank 2 light tank is fine for this. Like I say, you can use the M4A2, pair it with the M24 Chaffee, and this will count. Just make sure to spawn the Sherman first. But like I say, just scout targets in a good position and just don't shoot the targets you scout, and that's pretty much it. Next is set to work. Get the help with repairing streak, required number of times, help with repairing 2 streaks. Now, I would obviously say about my little exploit that I have for this, but I think I'll cover it in a video because a little bit easier to explain it. But to briefly summarize, get a squad mate and just get them to drown their engine on a map and just repair them twice, and then that's it. It does actually count for that. But if you're not doing that, use German players as meat shields, because they tend to be just dumbasses who just drive in front of people. They get tracks blown off and stuff like that. Then they'll sit and repair in front of 4 different enemy tanks that are shooting at them. So pretty much just sit behind them, use them as a meat shield, and just repair them, and you'll have this done in no time. Next is turret to turret. When required in battles with the total amount of teamwork and supporting fire streaks received in every battle being greater than or equal to 2, and you have to win 1 battle. I would recommend squadding up for this one. What this task entails is you sticking near your squad mate and things like that. And that personally is just easiest for that. Obviously, teamwork and supporting fire is quite an easy task to get if you get a good team, but a lot of the time you don't. So I would recommend joining a 4-man squad for the best results, because then it's more consistent. And like I said, feel free to join the Discord and pretty much just play with us and we'll help you out. Next is Mammoth Hunting. Destroy heavy tanks of the enemy, 5 kills. This is one where you pretty much should only face Germans and Russians. Very rarely USA drags out their M4A3 E2s. I don't see a lot of those these days, probably because everyone and their mothers knows how to counter them. But I digress. So, like I said, if you're struggling penetrating these heavy tanks, because obviously a lot of the time you do struggle to kill heavy tanks like the IS series, the Tigers, and stuff like that, it can be a pain in the arse, and it is a little bit trickier if you're not as experienced in the game. So my personal suggestion is to just cast them. If not, bring a big-ass tank destroyer with a big gun, and that tends to crack them like an egg. Next is Slow But Sure. Destroy player vehicles using a heavy tank, 8 kills. Now, there is a lot of these where you can just go, oh, this is a good heavy tank to use. I'll use the Tiger. Don't use the fucking Tiger unless you absolutely have to. I know I've got it mentioned there, but the Tiger is one where not only do you get stuck on German teams, but the second people see a Tiger, they will cast it to death. So I've only put the Tiger there just as like a last-minute decision, really. But out of all the heavy tanks, the ones that I tend to use are the M4A3E2, the 75 Jumbo, that is, the IS-1 and the KV-85. I love the KV-85, such a good tank. So underrated as well, in my opinion. But yeah, pretty much just play them, just shoot anything that moves, and you'll have this done within a game or 2, and sometimes even 1. I've had 13 kill runs in the KV-85. I've even had a 15 kill game without even dying in the damn thing. So I think in one of those runs that I had, 15 kills in the KV-85, I didn't even get penetrated once. Everything just bounced off the armor, bounced off the turret, or the track ate the shot. So KV-85 is my personal suggestion for this, but if you're a newer player who doesn't necessarily know how to angle their armor, IS-1 will be better. Next is Ground Superiority. Play required number of battles when any of the streaks from the list have been received. Heavy Metal Hero, Survivor, Mission Maker, Punisher, Wingman, Heavy Metal Fury, Bulletproof, Balancer, and On Hand. And this one only requires you to play 2 games. This is one where I think you should purely focus on Heavy Metal Hero / Fury. Pretty much just focus on getting as many kills as you can. Don't bother about caps, don't bother about winning, because obviously play is the important factor here. You don't have to win. And also use CAS. Pretty much just anything that moves, like I said with the heavy tank one, anything that moves, just bomb it, rocket it, and just fire 85mm from a Russian tank at it, and chances are you're going to be killing them. Pretty much as simple as that, really. Next is Skywatchers. Destroy SBAs of the enemy, 2 kills. Now, I'm also going to be covering this in a video at some point, and I really should start noting this sort of stuff down, but don't worry, I will have this noted down. CAS is more consistent for this, because obviously SBA tends to come into play late game. Excuse me. But if not, you can use an old trick called Wild Weasel. Now, if you don't know what that is, it is essentially where one player distracts the SPAA, and the other one kills it. Me and Harry will probably work together to do a video on this. We have planned this sort of thing in the past, but we've never gotten around to it. But I think if I have a word with him, I'm sure he'll be more than happy to do this as a video of some sort, and we can just pretty much just make it our own way, so to speak. And like I said, using CAS is more consistent for this, but obviously the downside of that is SPA is kind of built to shoot you down. So rockets tend to be a good weapon to use, like the HVAR and stuff, and you should be golden from there. Next is Triumphator. When a battle taking required place in the team, place 1 to 4, 2 victories. As I've said earlier, please do avoid Germany like the fucking plague. Focus on playing Russia and USA lineups for wins. Focus on captain kills. Skip if inexperienced. Place 1 to 4 can be quite tricky, especially given the amount of points that people can rack up in a match. Like I've said before, I've gotten 15 kills in a KV-85, and I got like 3,000 points, and that was with no caps, and I was just cleaning house, and the nearest player to me was 1,000 points behind. So, if you are inexperienced, I would recommend skipping this one. But if you're wanting a bit of a challenge for yourself, like I said, Russia 4.7, and America 5.3/4.7 is also a pretty good one. So just pretty much play what works for you, but obviously don't forget as well, you need to win. It's all well and good being top of the team, but if you're not winning, then you're not doing this task. Next is Out of the Ordinary. When required a number of battles with the total amount of tank rescue streaks received in every battle being greater than or equal to 2. Tank rescuer, 1 victory. This is pretty much self-explanatory. Get a win and stay near your team. That is pretty much what this entails. You can play pretty much any nation, other than Germany, of course, because, like I said, Germany's... I swear to God that my win rate with Germany and Ground RB is like 30% at the minute. And that's purely because half the time I have to push the cap. But yeah, as I was saying, Russia tends to be the more consistent one. And with Tank Rescuer, pretty much all you have to do is sit near your team, wait for someone to get shot and survive the shot, and then shoot and destroy the target that shot them. It's pretty much as simple as that. Pretty much play any BR for this. Like I say, just make sure to get that win. Next is the best on the ground. Play any required number of battles where any of the streaks from the list have been received. Heavy Metal Hero, Survivor, Mission Maker, Punisher, Wingman, 1 game. I cannot wait till I stop saying that because I'm sick of saying all those tasks and all those award names. Focus on Heavy Metal Hero for this. Go for as many kills as possible and use CAS. Like I said, this is going to be one that can be quite tough. But obviously, the main focus is ground kills, so don't bother about aircraft, because there is no task that really correlates to aircraft in Ground RB at the minute. But, yeah, focus on that, and just get as many kills as you can. As I've said many times before, Russia 4.7, I once got it 15 kills in a KV-85. If you've not skipped ahead and you've heard that 3 times now, I can only apologise. But it's a perfectly valid point, because if I can do that whilst being half awake in a KB-85, which isn't exactly the best armoured tank in the game, I'm sure at least one of you can do that in a nice one driving backwards. So give it a try. Next is Pioneer. Get the series of capture streaks rewarded or required a number of times. Base capture streak times 2, 1 streak. You do not need to win for this. Now, what this entails is you have to get 2 caps. Now, it doesn't matter if you do it in a rank 2 vehicle, but like I said, you must spawn in a rank 3 vehicle first. Or you can do the caps before jumping in a rank 3, and it should count normally. But I wouldn't risk that personally, because sometimes it can be a bit buggy. But pretty much all this is take an R3 or an M18, just rush to 2 caps. Doesn't matter. I don't think it has to be in the same life, as far as I know. Just cap 2 points, and that's it. You're done. It's as simple as that. Now, obviously, there are going to be other players that are going to be bum rushing caps, because the amount of players I see on their player card with reserve tanks at like 4,000 deaths and like 12 kills, or because they use those reserve tanks to just rush to a cap, jump in a plane, and just be a complete bell in the entire match, is actually quite astounding with how many I see, but I digress. Next is Tiger. Play a battle destroy required number of enemy tanks, 3 or more ground kills, 4 games. Now, of course, consistent lineups work for this. Just pretty much play what you like as long as it's rank 3. Cast also helps out, so if you're a bit short on your kills when you've run out of tanks or something, which if you've run out of tanks and you haven't got more free kills, I mean, you might just be inexperienced. But cast does count for this, so don't worry too much. Make sure to use it though. Next is Tactical Efficiency. Destroy player vehicles using a light or medium tank, and it is 20 kills, which isn't too bad. Of course, as we mentioned with Through the Fire, 18 kills, that will take you a couple of games, same with this one. Now, of course, you have to use a light or medium tank for this, so T-3457/85, M4A176, Panther D. For light tanks, you can use the Chaffee, as I mentioned, if you spawn a rank 3 vehicle. You can also use things like later vehicles like the M41, although the Sabo is a bit unreliable for that. Just really find your groove, to be honest. Like, just play what you think works for you and just play it from there. So now we move on to the last few tasks. We've only got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 to go, and we are pretty much there. Like I said, if you are struggling to do any of these tasks and you've not skipped ahead, so if you think that Tactical Efficiency was the last task and you've not realised this, like I say, just go down to the description and skip ahead to the one you might be struggling with out of this lot. Okay, so next up we have at the top, play a battle taking required place in the team, place 1 to 3. 3 games. I would heavily recommend skipping if you're inexperienced, because this is quite a toughie. But if you think you have the ability of doing this, then all I'll say is use cast, get caps, stay fighting even if you're losing, points matter. Doesn't matter even if you have to machine gun a guy's tracks just to get more points. At the end of the day, points matter for this. You must be in 1 to 3 and place in that region, otherwise the task will not count. And do not stress yourself about a win. This does not require you to win. Focus purely on just getting as many points as you can, and that will pretty much be it. However, if you're killing aircraft and someone, or trying to kill aircraft is what I meant to say, and someone's already set it on fire, do not be a dick and steal their kill. That is their kill. Simple as that. Let them have their kill, and if you really need the points, use your light machine guns and get an assist. Do not be a douchebag and steal someone's kill. I know I say this in pretty much every one of these videos, but it's kind of mandatory at this point because the amount of times I see people doing it is disgusting. Next is Firepower. Destroy player vehicles using an SPG, 8 kills. Now, my personal favourite for this is the Panzer 470V and the Su-85M. I've also thrown in the M36 Jackson due to its M82 shot. And like I said, pretty much just do what you want. And As I've mentioned before, you can use a rank 2 SBG if you wish. Of course, spawn a rank 3 vehicle first. But I personally love the Panzer 470V. It's not very often that thing gets its front armor cracked at its normal BR. And when it does, you obviously do get knocked out. But the simple fact of the matter is, not many guns can do that. Even the M36 struggles to crack it from the front. So make sure to make sure to make use of that. And obviously, it's got a Panther's gun at 5.3, and it's small, easy to hide. It's a great vehicle. As for the Su-85M, it's a more armoured Su-85, which can even bounce a Panther shot if it's lucky. So give those vehicles a try, and you'll have this done in no time. Next is hard targets. Destroy SPGs of the enemy for kills. Now, as I've mentioned before, you can actually use my exploit from the Star Shower one. That pretty much applies to this as well. But of course, we'll be covering that in a video at some point. So, fight the Germans or the Russians. They tend to use a shitload of tank destroyers / SPGs. Just cast their ass, and they don't like that. And it makes me very happy to see a German main crying in the chat because you've cast them. Because trust me, German mains are more satisfying than ever. But of course, the downside of that is you might get revenge killed in the process, so you might not get this done in 1 to 2 games. But don't forget, if you're spawning a rank 3 tank like the M4A2, of course, any SPGs you kill in that will also count. So just make sure to just use a rank 3 vehicle and you're golden. Next up is Morningstar. Win required number of battles, getting the first strike streak in each of them. 1 victory. I really don't know what to say about this one, because this is one that is extremely luck dependent. And unlike ARB tasks that I've covered with Medium, you can't use something like a Wyvern to do this. So I would recommend skipping this one. I don't even know why they've bothered keeping this task. It's so luck based. And yeah. If you skip to this part and you're struggling with this task, I can only apologize. But like I say, it is so luck dependent, it's not even funny. So I would heavily suggest giving this one a skip, unless you get extremely lucky and a win. But even then, a lot of that is luck. Next is Unexpected Threat. Destroy player vehicles using an SPA, 5 kills. This is one way you really just use SPAs as TDs. Whoever wins AMX 13, DJ 40, OSWIN 2, M42, M19, pretty much just use anything and just kill whatever you fancy. A lot of the times you'll do this in your SPAs without even trying. So just play your SPAs and go from there. Next is Activist. Win required number of battles with the needed activity percent, 85% or more activity, 3 victories. It can be tough if done alone. I'd recommend squadding up for better results. Otherwise, try using Russia or USA. Pretty much just focus on your battle activity. At the end of the day, even if you have to machine gun a guy's tracks just for a bit more activity, it makes sense. So try to keep your activity up and focus on the win. And you'll pretty much have this without even trying. Next is Vigilante. Help allied players destroy the enemies, 12 assists. This should really come as you naturally play. A lot of the time you'll get an assist from your artillery and you won't even realise. If you're struggling, however, use something like a T-34-57, which doesn't always one-shot, and just go for crit damage. Even if you've crit a guy's fuel tank and set him on fire, that will count in the future for an assist. Using CAS can also help for this, so if you just machine gun a guy's tracks or just take off their track and they die immediately after, you still get an assist. So focus on doing something like that and you should have this no problem. And finally, we have Dreadnought. When required number of battles, getting the multi-strike streak ×2, in each of them, 1 victory. This is more so for rapid-fire weapons, but one of my actual usable ones for this will be the Dreadnought, which, if you don't know what that is a Swedish tank with an autoloader at 5.0. It's not that busted, don't worry. It's got a good shell, but you have to unlock it first. It has 149mm of pen, I believe, on the AP-CBC round, which is the one with explosive filler. And it has a 4-second reload, I think, for like 4 shots. I don't remember. It's been a while since I played it. But yeah, that is a pretty good tank for this. But pretty much just wait until enemy tanks are nice and neat in a pile, and then just kill the one that's not paying attention and kill the one immediately after that. As long as you do it quick enough and you get a win, you'll have this done. And that's the end of the daily task, medium tasks for tanks. And of course, we'll be finally moving on to the special tasks. If you've watched all the way through, I can only thank you for that. Obviously, it's a lot of pressure on my voice for a start. My voice is already started to go. But obviously, these notes, I obviously have to source the information on each individual task. I have to write the notes myself. It does take a bit of time to do this, but of course, if you watched all the way through and you've also heard the slight difference in my voice as we've gone along, then, well, I can only apologise for that. But if you've learned something, leave it in the comments below, and if you have any suggestions on how to do tasks for other people, or maybe you use a vehicle yourself that you find works for you, leave it in the comments below. Might just give it a try. Anyway, I'll leave you all to it for today, and I will see you all on the next one.